Hey everyone, welcome to an episode of the Elixir Foundation series. So in this episode right here, we're going to be covering GenServer cast and how it's different from when we make a call. So in the previous episode, we covered call, and you can see that, over here, this is where we pass in the new state. So I'm just going to change this back to state because we don't actually want to manipulate the state with a URL call. We want to actually preserve the state. We just want it to read out the existing URL. So for example, let's say we had an operation where we wanted to do a swap URL. So we want to, whatever the existing one is, we want to swap it with a new one. So we can do something like this. We can pass in the PID and we can pass in the new URL. So the new URL. And then basically here, GenServer.cast PID. So now, we need to be able to pass, the method name. So in this case, we did a URL. So here in this, we're going to do a swap URL, and then we need to pass in the new URL. So this is what's called a tuple in Elixir, and because we only get to be able to pass one argument into here. That's why we have to use a tuple in Elixir, is so that we can pass in more than one argument. So now we can do the def handle cast, and then here we're going to do a swap URL. So it's this is all the beauty of pattern matching, and in the new URL. And then here we're going to get the state. So in a handle cast, we only have two arguments because we don't care about the from, because again. Handling cast has no reply, so it's just going to make the call, it's just going to make the cast, and then something's going to happen behind the scenes and we don't care about the result. So it's going to be a no reply, and in here we just pass in the new state, which is going to be URL and then new URL. So now basically this will manipulate the state of GenServer, the state that it's holding, with the new URL we passed in when we call swap URL. So let's actually try this out and see what happens. So I'm going to head over into my terminal over here, and then I'm going to run IEX mix. And then here, okay, so we don't need the state because we're going to manipulate the state. We're going to pass in a new URL over here. So yeah, so there we go. So now I'm going to start a PID. And then first, let's say, for example, we are doing GenServer, and then, for example, we're rendering the page, and then we're already done with the existing page. We want to swap in a new page and do something else and whatever, right? So now we're going to try and swap the URL. So botiful.render.engine.start link, and then https www.artalectual.com. Done. So now let's call render.engine.url PID. So now we're getting artalectual.com, what we passed in when we initialized the GenServer. But let's call swap URL. So let's swap it with something else. So for example, https.codemy.net. Bam. So now all we get is an OK. That's what happens when you do a cast, is there's no result. So now what happens if we call the URL again? We're going to get codemy.net because the state has been swapped. So this is what happens. This is what I mean when we're not expecting a return result. We just want to know, oh, OK, everything went OK, done. We don't care about the output. We just want to, like when let's say you have a data store of some kind, you say, hey, store this, store it, and done. You just want to know that it's done. But you don't actually need something in return because you already know what you're putting inside. So why do you need to know what is coming out, right? So a cast is generally when you don't care about the output. A call is when you want to read something, when you want to care about the output of the result. And that's, those are kind of like the two main calls, well, the two main handlers, if you will, in GenServer. And so yeah. This is a member exclusive episode, so thank you very much for becoming a member. And with that, we appreciate your support. Also share our site with your friends and family and give us a positive review. We have a Facebook page, and on Twitter, tweet us and mention our school. and we would be really appreciative of those things. And with that, I want to wrap up this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.